Canada. Our list of countries with best police forces takes off with Canada. Even though the police of Canada may not experience sword-driven situations as other countries may, but their training is still above general standards, which prepares them for those unpredictable situations, just as Paris experienced an unexpected love twist. The unpredictability of life is amidst which is why the Canadian police have put things in motion, preparing them in advance by the development of their training college, which enables officers to undergo advanced and specialized development programs that prepares them for the reality rather than the made-up stories of rose petals in the police force. Having things laid out to the trainee officers about what's expected of them in the field honestly creates a realistic approach at which they can adapt and implement when doing their duties rather than being stuck when the time comes. Besides having the privileges of educational training, the Canadian Police Force, just as every other best police forces, globally, they also has to undergo practical on-the-field training too, with a slight twist though, as their training is done while senior police are conducting their duties, as it is on the job side of an experience which prepares them better in the future rather than giving them a set example or scenario. The RCMP has been providing exceptional law enforcement service for more than 140 years. Any police force, even the most highly trained police forces that's been around for almost a century and a half, ought to speak for itself in terms of the amount of developed training the fellow officers that stood the test of time has had to undergo, which was passed on to new recruits at the same pace as the advancement of the world. Due to this high-flying reputation of Canada's finest, this has sure landed them as being a highly respected police force worldwide. Canada's training for their law enforcement have been so up to standard that other smaller law enforcement entities often request the training of the RCMP in their smaller departments, which shows a strong sense of leadership in their work that others willingly want to follow.
Netherlands. Past the Duchies from the left-hand side was a hit song back in the 80s, yet ironically wasn't produced in the Netherlands. Nevertheless, at least the police structure of the Dutch police is a hit in terms of their strategically placed and positioned units. These units consists primarily of the Central Regional Police Services. Each of these units are driven under the command of the Dutch Commissioner. Proper functioning and maintained order of the troops are taken by the responsible duty of the Netherlands Minister of Justice. Officers in these units are deployed and expected to be on standby to conduct normal day-to-day duties and tasks, which span amongst a list of many of the cliché things that even the most of world's best police forces are faced with and is supposed to do in the line of duty, including some major things as well on extreme cases. Every police officer has a bad day now and then, and in the line of duty some lose their badges and worse, their lives, which is precisely why having a support team like the Dutch police is particularly to the greatest of their advantage. They are specifically trained to handle most types of situations, and united front of their ability to work as a team reaching the same goal is admirable. Dutch police visibility on the streets is somewhat prominent and cover most parts of the Netherlands and Badlands too. Their prime objective is to be on spot, keeping an eye for anything suspicious and to prevent it before it happens. Police patrol is somewhat scarce and not as prominent in other countries and police departments, which allows every criminal the freedom to do whatever crime they feel they can pull off on the streets. We may consider this prominence of best police forces presence on the streets as a practical example of law enforcement in motion, since anybody that dares commit any crime, regardless of the severity and seriousness, will think twice before doing it, as the roving eyes of the Dutch masters are scanning every suspicious swankster, car and street corner during these times of reporting to their duty.
China. At number 8 in our list of top 10 countries with best police forces, it's the China. All Chinese are kung fu masters, so it's spoken around the world of people and their experiences of who was unfortunate enough to be entangled in the wrath of their master art of using body sequence moves in order to disable an opponent or to manipulate an opponent until eventually attacking their vital body parts to completely paralyze them. This is an ancient method that's now been adapted in the process of police training in China as well. The Chinese have always had an extremely amazing and extraordinary manner of actions and speech, as well as their less frequent use for weapons in even a dangerous situation, which is particularly why we can gladly say that they are highly trained in aspects of hand-to-hand combat when most officers aren't, and with a bonus to top it up, they are also trained in advanced weaponry handling too. For many years the average Chinaman has been underestimated and perceived wrongly, discriminated against and rendered somewhat incompetent, but this isn't the case in the Chinese police force due to their intensive hard-to-watch training, which they seem to endure so effortlessly purely because their mind and body has been conditioned to react immediately upon provocation with appropriate countermeasures. The police of China, counted among the best police forces, live up to their uniform and more especially do what they were trained to do, as well as with innovatively adding to their trained methods of combating crime. Discipline here is everything. The tactical operations of the Chinese police force is among the world's best police forces, and that is rather unique and effective as compared to some of the rest, as there's creativity along with the exact or similar amount of brashness that a police officer is supposed to have in them. Having such a great amount of discipline instilled within Chinese police officers from young ensures accuracy in their shooting, skill in their hand-to-hand combats instead of meaningless rage that could get one killed, stance, stature, maintaining of stealth, which can help them in more advanced cases of where silence would be the key code to end violence, also helps give officers the fortitude of maintaining discretion to handle situations according to the extent of its magnitude. Doing things this way in China ensures that the policing system is upheld as they were trained to do, and also so that their duties are conducted by the books and within the constituted law.
Germany. For decades till this day, German spec sports cars have been the heart of racers and car collectors. One of Germany's masterpiece creations in the vehicle industry is the BMW franchise. In the era when BMW was born, including modern day, if you own a BMW you are automatically classed as a high-profile member of society. Thanks to Germany and its exquisite mastery and craftsmanship. One of the best police forces in the world, the BMI of Germany, however, is something else entirely and represents the somewhat elite train and force system, which grants the allowance of controlling their own units, which spans over 16 states with another 2 federal law enforcement agencies by their side, all in joint venture as one large battalion to combat crime, just that it's in different units, each with a separate assigned task force, jurisdiction and expertise in specific fields. With the employment of more than 40 highly trained, skilled and dedicated police officers within their own respective departments, this ensures the widespread safety of Germans while having so many officers on and off duty and ever so ready to perform by doing their jobs according to their police legislation that allows any official of the BMI to use whatever granted means to conduct their duties without having special permissions from superiors to engage, as compared to some police laws of other countries. Germany has a special established university called Deutsche Hochschule der Polizei, German Police University, which is the official and designated place at which all police newbies will undergo intensive studying and educational training before becoming physical on-the-field training, which is quite intense as every other force. The greatness of having people who want to become police officers in Germany is each candidate will be given the exact same knowledge of the justice system and serves as a regulatory education set for all new police officers, instead of having each individual to study something that they may not be required to know in the BMI. Just like the influence of the mafia in God's handcrafted Italy, the hell-applauded Nazi has also taken ownership of Germany and has carved a name for itself in the history books as being one of the most extremely racist movements and rebellion parties that the world has ever known. During the midst of World War I, Adolf Hitler, one of the world's most infamous tyrants, immediately positioned himself as a leader that was bred to bring about change in Germany and to be the driving force behind strengthening every weak area of the World War I era. By successfully gaining the trust and political influence of Germany at the time, He was able to mastermind and to yield the German police station under the stranglehold of his command by creating what appeared to be a land of make-believe to his followers. Using this to the utmost of his advantage, it wasn't long till Hitler managed to take over the main parts of Germany, which was soon to be turned into his personal hell in which he was the commanding Lucifer. Nobody saw it coming, but it was taken by force by this stage. The German police, regarded as one of the best police forces, have now finally broken free from the Nazis' wrath and is independent in all aspects of maintaining law and order throughout the decades since the Nazi came into power during the Holocaust years. The German police force can be regarded as one of the rulers in the world due to their achievement of breaking free from one of history's most powerful crime leaders like Adolf Hitler.
Australia. Australia isn't only known for the pristine tourist attractions such as the Sydney Opera House. Ever since the AFP is making a powerful attraction of its own by reputability and by doing everything the force of its power as a governmental structure to uphold the law to the highest of its standards. The AFP is often regarded as the best police forces. Many would perceive Australia to be a country of peace and quiet. However, as with any country, there's an infestation of criminal activities swarming the streets and ruled by controlled underworlds, ruthless drug lords, corrupt businessmen, etc. With regards to developed countries and areas in general, the illegal drug production is increasing as the years pass. Popular culture and unsupervised television seems to have a powerful influence on the behavioral aspects of common people, more the younger generation, and plays a large factor on their speech, mannerisms, ways of life, actions, or the things they would resort to in order to make a living. Everything boils down to survival of the fittest. The sad reality is that the resulting outcome of these circumstances that some members of society are faced with are born into tend to become troublesome to the lives of the respectable and honorable class. This is primarily why any police medium has been established and trained in their respective departments in order to bring justice to these notorious individuals or groups. The AFP is responsible for the seizure of one of the biggest drug busts in the nation's history, if not the only one Australia can trace back to. An estimated amount of more than $1 billion Australian dollars of crystal meth has been seized and was sure to spark the attention of the media, lasting headlines of the capture. I think we can dub this to the Australian Federal Police checkmate. Be careful, the AFP is watching your every move since they have an astounding reputation for being on top of things in terms of criminal justice. Only a highly trained force could have been able to carry out an investigation of his spiderweb nature without arousing the suspicions of and alarming the people they were after. Criminal justice cannot be enforced by a police department or country alone, regardless of their advancement in intelligence or technology. This is particularly yet another reason why we can gladly say that the AFP is one of the best trained in their network fields of expertise due to their stringency in principles and integrity, as well as respect for other law enforcers, since this was proved with their prideless effort to go into joint forces in order to merge as one strong battalion with the NSW to combat terrorism. This can be regarded as remarkable since other known police forces won't always consider the help of other departments or countries due to selfish reasons of personal rankings and to gain credit on their own. Everybody wants to be in power. Not just one of the best police forces. Hats off to the AFP for being one of the first police forces to practically, literally and effectively enforce and practice gender equity. They plan to have more women in their police force in the next decade to come. It is expected that more than half of sworn by oath women will fill the force. We can consider this a highly effective way of combating crime, since women are more prone to being mugged, molested, and victim to other heinous crimes. It helps tremendously if they are the law enforcers and given titles of authority. This way they will be trained in self-defense and to use the justice system to help other women too. The training and recruitment of more women into the force will keep more women out of danger from the crimes of the streets.
France. At number 5 in our list of countries with best police forces is the France. Prior to Italy, France is also known for and is widely known as the love destination since it hosts one of the world's most treasured and magical cities, Paris, which is ground to the world's most iconic structures and landmarks, the Eiffel Tower, The not-so-lovely thing however is that crime exists everywhere regardless of the beauty of the country. Just recently, the world came to a standstill and news headlines were ruled by the suicide bomb attacks, leaving more than 100 people dead in the process. The City of Love became a disaster during this period. Without the medical and police assistance that was deployed during this time, many more lives would be lost. France would have seen the largest bloodbath of its history should they not been a tactical force intervention from the National Police of France, which is ranked among the best police forces, as well as other special forces on the call of duty. The common police officer isn't trained enough to disarm a bomb and to be responsible for things that could mean the tearing up of an entire city and being responsible for hundreds, if not thousands of lives, which is why France planned in advance when setting up their law enforcement squads according to their training. The Gendarmerie Nationale is France's ace card or cannonball force when faced with matters of destruction like this. For an instance, they are the dedicated army force of France and is under the Ministry of Defense, called upon to do what they do best in their respective tactical units on somewhat extreme cases, such as terrorist attacks and other major situations that France may face at any given time, providing air support, ground support with tactical trained teams set up and put in position to move in on command and to conduct certain land operations to smoother down the resistance, etc. Being on standby gives them the ultimate advantage, which means they are ready to counter-strike with a wealth of defense mechanisms, skills and training in their favoring by the country's request, but under the command and authorized go-ahead by the French Ministry of Defense. The municipal police forces of France are traditionally trained to deal with the more minor crimes such as petty theft, mugging, handling of missing persons cases, vehicle accidents, speeding fines, etc. However, each team in their policing system is responsible for ensuring that the country's glory is withheld on a daily basis. Apart from the mentioned police units, the Gendarmerie Nationale and municipal police, France also has its very own tactical force which is responsible for doing things slightly differently than the two units. France's very own tactical force is a differently trained force altogether and serves as a reserve backup unit to assist by request.
United Kingdom. The implementation of the UPhold, Excellence in Policing, conferences are held and conducted by the high-ranking police chiefs can be considered as a valuable concept and the greatest forum creation in the UK, with collaboration of several other parties in the committee to address several aspects and to bring about new and improved developments within the interlinked police departments of the United Kingdom. This can be highly beneficial to the outcome at which the law desires to achieve in terms of ensuring excellence in their policing methods. With the conferences held, there is sure to be a reached agreement of how to conduct policing duties as a whole of the force, which ensures that all police duties are done by the book as well. Order of the law will be in place with a mutual or common way of serving the nation. Called one of the best police forces, the National Police Force of the United Kingdom has truly gone beyond their expected duties to launch a campaign to raise awareness of the police emergency number, which most enforcements may take for granted that the citizens of a country are aware of, when really some have no clue of what the police number is. By launching this number awareness campaign, it enables more and more people to be knowledgeable of the emergency services that's built to protect the nation, as well as how to get into contact with them when in need of assistance. The National Police Force of the UK, otherwise known as one of the best police forces, has also been spread out in all of the main cities and also cater for various parts of the outskirts too. In this way, police protection is everywhere. The UK police practice flexible policing, which simply means policing by the consent of the nation, as in they conduct their duties tailor-fit to how the nation would prefer them to be. By this we can see the dedication of police officers to their nation's citizens, as well as how united they are with their fellow officers. Volunteers are regarded as special constables. The beautiful thing having it this way is that this prevents so-called superiority, and each officer will be referred to as the same. Senior officers train the volunteers as they go along. In most cases and other trained units, police officials tend to focus more on becoming a certain labeled member of the station instead of actually combating crime, even though there are higher titles of rank given to higher experienced police officers. This still forms as a generalization. Here in the UK, because of this rule, it serves as great regulatory system to bring every officer at the same level. There are different sets and types of sub-law enforcement agencies part of the National Police, which is quite often regarded as one of the best police forces. United Kingdom's police recruitment system that's in place can be considered as one of the neatest in terms of quality standards and to ensure that every new police officer is at their best after making it and undergoing intensive training. Discipline carried out and encouraged during this training is similar to that of several tactical trained forces we are aware of. The National Police Force of UK came at number 4 in our list of best police forces.
Italy. Bella Italia, beautiful Italy. Rome was not built in one day. Besides the richness of a variety of delicious foods, romantic sunsets of Capri, the golden voice of Luciano Pavarotti and other classical music legends, the sound of the opera and mandolins all around that fill the atmosphere, and the gifts of ancient history that the Magnifico Italia boasts, Italy is also home to the Italian Mafia. The Sicilian Mafia dates back to the mid-18th century as a protection system that was initially intended and traditionally formed to do whatever bad things necessary for the good reasons as acclaimed by ancient Italians throughout the years. The birth of the Mafia in the era of the 18th century was established and maintained for the pure purpose of providing protection to peasants that even the best police forces could not offer due to abiding to laws of the justice system under oath. As the number of criminals and the concept of organized crime increased, it spread rapidly like wildfire and eventually reached a global scale by the 19th century and still continues today. Once there was an organized crime revolution, the organized crime world became independently controlled and commanded by crime bosses who earned their way up their criminal careers and climbed the highest rankings of the mafia structure, which is respectively known as the Don. As the decades passed, Italy has become infested with power-driven and ruthless mafia bosses, which created a worldwide misperception that all Italian businessmen are linked to the mafia or some criminal organization due to its notorious existence. The Italian National Police, regarded as one of the best police forces, can be rendered one of the best trained law enforcements in the world due to their exclusive establishment and effective implementation of the Italian anti-mafia division, which is responsible for the arrests of 2 of the most dangerous and violent mafia bosses who were hidden in the depths of barren mountains. Every officer around the world, or anybody that tracks out the mafia in general, has common knowledge that by the privilege of their power, influence and ranking system, they can conduct ruthless acts in order to attain almost anything of desire, which also includes the successful annihilation of enemies and innocent families as a revenge retaliation. The anti-mafia police force of Italy has conducted their duties in such a professional, intelligent and extremely cautious manner that each of the families belonging to the officers who conducted the search and arrests of the mafia men is still safe and alive, despite that their entire organized crime syndicate hasn't been brought to justice, with other capos, soldiers of the mafia, still at large. We can accolade this division of the Italian police as a whole with utter excellence in carrying out their jobs with such cautiousness in this specific case as not any department would have been able to pull this off successfully without endangering the lives of their loved ones in the process, and the fact of them having a specially trained force that's an exclusive anti-mafia division of their departments shows something which can only be given full credit to Italians. The Italian police force, often counted among the best police forces, consists of a staggering amount of approximately 300 police officials split amongst 5 national forces and 5 local police forces, being relatively the highest number of police officials in the European Union. Having such a large distribution of police officers in their respective areas definitely ensures optimal safety. One of the best police forces in the world, the Italian police force has also been gifted by their trademark world-class brand, Lamborghini. 2 specially designed police cars were given to Italy's police force, which can reach speeds up to 350 km/h. In general, a special driver's test is required to prove that a driver is competent enough to sit behind the steering wheel of a car that can reach speeds as a jet on the road. Only 2 vehicles were given to the police of Italy, which meant that the 2 drivers who were lucky enough to drive it had to have been highly trained before being granted permission to race off, a competitive advantage in terms of high-speed car chases, and in this case to catch a mafia don on the run.
United States of America. At number 2 in our list of top 10 countries with best police forces is the USA. In the entire world, Americanos and the American culture is the most popular and most imitated and loved all over the world. Nothing can beat the legacy of music legends of America, James Brown, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, and this list can go on to 1,000 pages. Some of the world's wonders were born and raised in America. The uniqueness and history of this country alone is outrageously remarkable and literally reaches for the stars with the founding and highly reputable birth of NASA on United States land. Only in America has the popularity of Hollywood and the entertainment of movies and television started from one places and ended up universal scale success, reaching magnitudes of globalization. It is strikingly evident that not many countries could have achieved this level of success in terms of what it can offer as a whole united country. Besides American police, which is by the way among the best police forces, being known for their brutality on the force, they are no doubt one of the highest trained in world, with a countless amount of backup and rescue mediums as well as advanced missionary systems based across the entire country. It's almost as though they are unbeatable in terms of their style of policing. Everybody around the world has heard of the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the SWAT team, Special Weapons and Tactics, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, the United States military, and last but not least, the often underestimated Men in Blue, the APF, American Police Force. Only in the United States of America will you find one of the world's most elite divisions of extremely trained teams that have governed and underwent as well as put to action somewhat of the most hell-bending training for years, as more of America's approximate 323 million of the population are recruited day by day from the weaker hearts to defenders of an entire nation, warrior bred by the extreme hardcore training that makes a man and enhances his virility and bravado regardless of whichever leveled ranking they are recruited in. Only in America would you find the fire of an ancient warrior behind the uniforms of America's heroes who serve as the counter-strike of America when faced with war threats or anything of that nature. You can be sure that there is a successfully trained mercenary that's intoxicated with lattes for increased sharpness in their attention spans and is ever ready for action. In the United States of America there are several police departments, however the LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, and the NYPD, New York Police Department, are the localized and standard force that rushes to the rescue of what can be referred to as the everyday crimes that American citizens are committers or victims to. People generally misconceive their local boys in blue as mere donut-eating, coffee-sipping beef and bean burrito junkies, which is actually on the contrary to what they are actually made of when push comes to shove and when they are called upon the police radio to speed off to a certain location in order to apprehend a certain suspect. The local police departments of the US aren't notoriously known for their violent brutality acts for no reason, as their methods of apprehension are of an extremely brash nature. Apart from getting warnings or laid off the force for a while by their superiors, the fact remains is that they eventually get the job done and stomp down hard on crime. Due to the police adapting the style of combat from that of the military or special forces, their success rate of crime prevention and law enforcement is somewhat of a replica of when the military isn't required. The LAPD and NYPD will be sure to bend the rules and jurisdictions of their rankings to innovatively solve almost any matter thrown at them, and they have been kicking it since the 50s and still doing it hard style. When the matters get rough and when the going gets tough, the toughest of America's finest and highest trained will surely get going too. It's to no surprise that in America, The local police departments have all their King of Spades cards to play to shovel things out when faced with appropriate situations, such as calling in the assistance of SWAT or the FBI when the crime turbulence gets too heated up for their handling. Having this advantage means criminals or terrorist groups would understand that if the police cannot take them out, then that's when they will call in the Great Wrecking Ball of America to wipe them out, and this would obviously mean the intervention of Navy SEAL teams or the United States military. In 40 minutes the Navy SEAL team emerged victorious by making world history in their victory of successfully annihilating mega-terrorists, Osama bin Laden, when many forces of the world tried to take him out for an entire decade. The Navy SEAL team is a special ops anti-terrorism trained to the highest of standards, and their liberating performance of Osama's kill has been the flying flag of their training. No other force of the world has been able to achieve the success they have withheld. Only in America can a guy from anywhere grow up from pauper to president.
Japan. At number 1 in our list of best police forces is the Japanese National Police. Martial arts has been around for centuries and is the underlying trademark of Asian countries that's usually taken for granted by many around the world, yet with a failed realization of the genius and mastery that's been lingered on for centuries and that has been passed on and taught as a life skill from generation to generation. Asian countries are most commonly known and recognized for their stringency and discipline in almost everything at which they do or say. From here it is not hard to join the dots to the fact that the same rule of ultra-discipline is carried out by police officers, their dedication to their uniform and their country of the Japanese National Force also. It's not uncommon knowledge that Japanese children are trained in efficiency in almost everything by the elders, which adds a bonus to when they are older and are required to take on a task of job of authority and security. The police force of Japan are trained in a similar way as the United States military. Both are among the best police forces. Japan has the highest training institute for leaders that traces back to the 60s when things were not at its justified stages in terms of politics, etc. You can be sure that the retired police officers of the time have been trained in the force in a very hard and harsh manner, which ensures that if they were the trainers for the younger generation and recruited police officers, they would have most probably been trained in the exact same manner, where discipline and honorability are the front-line principles of how they conduct their work in the line of their assigned duties. The structure of the training that the Japanese police force receives as a whole can be regarded as one of the ultimate, most intense, versatile, flexible, and cover almost every known aspect to crime prevention or law enforcement. But the average Joe would ask himself, Japanese National Police, the highly trained police forces in the world, how come? I am to discuss in intricate detail about what these disciplined men or women of the Japanese honorable force have been prepared and equipped for in terms of justice in being 10 steps ahead of their criminal oppositions. In the National Police of Japan, policemen and women are trained equally in the following respective divisions, which are responsible for handling every issue that they were trained for in their department. They are divided strategically in a General Affairs Division, which deals with accounting and student affairs, Police Administration Training Division, which trains each and every new recruit for the mass and secure handling of paperwork, emergency calls, etc. General Safety Police Training Division, responsible for making sure normal safety precautions are adhered to with regards to the public. Community Police Training Division, which is there for the support of the people who needs them most. Criminal Investigation Training Division, that investigates so thoroughly in almost every type of case that you can imagine that an offender in those particular investigation cases would be damned if they were caught. At the amount of solid evidence of conviction this division would have gathered well before the capture. Organized Crime Training Division, that is constantly on the watch of Mafia, infamous Asian Mafia crime organization, known to the world by their deadly reputation as the Yakuza, which requires a bunch of merciless and fearless set of trained officers for the job, or else you can consider your career as a police officer in Japan ending before it had the full chance to start, if not the end of your life. Traffic Police Training Division can gain one of the greatest respects as compared to the traffic police of any other country outside of Asia and America due to their population of more than 100 million people of Japan alone, which means the high rate of road rage, accidents, congestion and collateral pileup of vehicles that the Traffic Division of Japan are trained to deal with. The Security Police Division are one of the main enforcers of the law, as they would deal with extreme hostile situations, bank robberies, and may even lose their lives in the process. Instructor Training Division is another respectable department of the force, and not forgetting the Physical Training Division, whom is most important, as the tactically trained officers of Japan would have been reliant of them in order to have been the outcome of tough and physically strengthened and competent officers of the law, just as doctors, lawyers, policemen, accountants, and almost every high-ranked profile member of society went through unappreciated knowledge and departed valuable education from teachers or lecturers. There is also a designated research and training center that conducts financial crime investigations that stump down on money laundering and fraudulent cases, etc. As the world knows it, majority of the world's advancement in technology derives from the manufacturing companies of Asian companies, which means they make what they sell due to the high labor and job opportunities available. These technological products are shipped globally as each new thing on the market comes out. Since the heart of the world's greatest inventions on the technological side beats from China, America, India and Japan, yes, you guessed it, and can be sure that Japanese police also trains their geeks into the cybercrime department to handle and prevent or bring to justice a numerous amount of digital crimes such as child pornography, cyberbullying, downloading of illegal and unauthorized copyright content, hacking, and the countless amount of things that is against the law that can be done with the power of utilizing high-tech and advanced gadgets and general knowledge of how to find loopholes and then exploit it over the World Wide Web ever since the birth of its digital age, which is constantly being improved rapidly by seconds as we speak. Besides the Japanese police forces being one of the highest trained in the world, it can also be considered as one of the best police forces of the world as well, due to their admirable ability to go beyond the call of duty by implementing a crisis management system for victims of natural disasters such as earthquakes or havoc situations such as police riots, etc., which are bound to happen prominently in a country as large as Japan. The Japanese National Police Force also gladly expands and extends their trained officers and skills, resources to various other countries in aid of assisting in disaster relief, as well they're cooperating on an international scale with other authorities to help in the battle of fighting crime globally. The Japanese police services are there for everybody and isn't just limited to their established settlement in Japan. Japanese police also have one of the most extraordinary but highly effective system of using kogans, which are small sub-offices spread vastly around Japan that connect callers to the nearest and most convenient security measure available.